Hey, well, welcome everybody to our regular Q&A Wednesday afternoon. Like Marshall said, I hope you had a wonderful 3-day weekend. It was sure nice to have an extra day. I sure enjoyed that. In terms of announcements, I will share my screen and show you what's going on here. So we did have a release go in on Tuesday, and so the active and fixed known issues list is up to date and should be sorted by most recent date implemented. So you can see what was in the release yesterday afternoon. And the only thing I wanted to point out on here is that there are some active issues related to CELA validations that say fix available, and they are in the system. I just have not, I think I've mentioned this a few times now, that I've been hesitant to update these because there's still a couple outstanding issues on changing and deleting and CELA data, in particular the GER5 error. So once that one comes in, I'll go ahead and update all of these that say fix available, because people are still having trouble making the correct edits with their on their CELA records. And EOI is expected to start tonight. I believe CDE is working on a flash to just give you an update on what's going on with that. So keep an eye on your inbox for that. And that is all I had for updates. So Alex, if you want to jump in and start reviewing the questions. So I was just giving updates on the system and where we're at. And so before we start answering the questions, I wondered if you or Brandy had any CDE updates you wanted to give.
Not other than what you just said about we are opening up tomorrow. We still have known issues that exist. I think the main one to pay attention to is it 6105, the SPRG cleanup, which we had hoped had gone in this week, did not. And so that cleanup will be happening this weekend. So you might just refrain on submitting, I guess, SPRGs until that's done. And I think I saw some listserv chatter about the fact that CDE, that we're going to be cleaning out those duplicate records, right, guys, Angela and stuff?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah, so LEAs don't have to do that, right?
Great.
So it'd be best, we'll let everyone know when that all happens. It's supposed to be happening this weekend because it will require an outage. Other than that, to pay attention closely to the known issues list, to know, what files you think, are good for you to submit. We're suggesting that we think the cleanest ones at this point are STAS and the 3 discipline files. I don't know, Angela, or
even then,
Yeah,
there's some SIRS bugs that we're aware of.
Okay, which we're hoping will go in next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, so we'll continue to try to tweak the flash to convey that accurately, which I'll be sending out for you all to review shortly. And let's see what else. Oh, and so I think we've tried to explain this before, but the fatal IVRs that were moved to become what are called data discrepancies. So that data is now in the system, and we're working to basically have those triggers as CVRs, but maybe a few are in the system, but most are not yet. And so we'll be communicating about that in a subsequent flash. This flash basically just says there might be a few of them in there. Another flash will be coming out, but in the meantime, hold off on certifying. And I believe the certification button actually has been disabled anyway, so I don't think you actually can certify. Yeah, so that'll be in the flash also. I don't know if there's anything else CSIS guys want to say about that.
I think you covered it, Paula. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's get started then. We're going to start with Soraya. Hope I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly, and I apologize in advance if I don't. Question 1, status of the 15.1 and 15.2 reports. When may we trust the data from these reports to follow up with potential dropouts?
Well, good timing, Soraya. That was just fixed last night, so yesterday, so it ran overnight. Originally, since the new CALPADS post redesign launch, those reports were not running. So it should have a May 31st date on it now. And you should be good to go to start evaluating those. And if you need more information if you're new to looking at those reports, go to help and user manual and do a search for 15.1, and we'll pull you up to the mapping guide here to show you what's in each of the cells on the report.
Laura from Santa Rosa City Schools, question 1, STAS error STAS 0588. I can't find any information on this error. When I searched in the error list, it said it was removed. I also looked on known issues and didn't find anything about it. Can you please explain it and tell me where to find documentation on it? I have 229 in my secondary district and 142 in my elementary district.
It doesn't appear to be in the user manual.
We haven't updated the user manual with the new errors. So I think this is part of the new error list. So I would revert them to the actual downloadable error list that you could also download from that page.
Okay, so here I found it, Laura, and it says it's new as of this year. So Kyron is spot on as usual. And so how you can find that is when you're in CalPads, go to the bottom. In the footer, it says error list, and that'll be the most current version for you.
Joan from Sacramento City. When can we start putting up SPRG files? As Paula mentioned, we're going to be fixing that PM 6105 over this weekend. So I would say wait for us to update that ticket saying that it's fixed. And if you are not linked to the ticket, you can submit a ticket saying, hey, can you link me to PM 6105? And then you'll get notified whenever the fix goes in. And Amanda has the same question. Is the SPRG okay to upload now? Monica, question 1. When will error 6008 regarding GER 5 CELA be fixed?
It is coming on Tuesday. That's the target anyway. I hate to make promises that I can't keep, but it's on the list for Tuesday.
Elitania from Yucaipa, question 1. Do students get college articulated credit for both semesters or only for one semester? Our course ID numbers are different each semester. For example, emergency medical transportation fall semester has course number 0789, and for the spring semester, the course ID changes to 20789. Do we need to tag both course ID number as college articulated, or do we only tag one?
Because they have different section IDs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest that you, well, okay. So when you say articulated course, that's a little confusing to me because we do have an CTE articulated course indicator, which very honestly is not used for anything but federal reporting. The most important thing is if the student receives articulated credit by, the end of the course, then you want to flag it as an instructional level of 23 or 24, so college credit only or dual credit. And it sounds like this is a dual credit course, so it would be 24. And that's probably most important. And it is important to tag both of the sections because the accountability office is looking for a certain number of terms for those particular courses in order to count for college credit.
Denise, question 1. What is the advice on whether we should update local SIS to take in the merged SSIDs for students who have long graduated?
I wonder, Denise, if that was back when redesign initially launched and they were pulling in all those really old mids, if that's what you're asking about. I might want to look at a couple of scenarios with you before answering that broadly, just to make sure we're understanding the scope of the problem. So if you want a ticket, ask for Angela and I will take a look, provide a couple of SSIDs for me, please.
Natasha from Escondido, question 1. Is the end of year window actually opening tomorrow as previously announced? Sounds like it, right?
Sounds like it, yep.
All right, Angela from Bonita, question 1. Any updates on whether districts can pull SPRG and CELA ODS extracts into our SIS?
So good news on the CELA. That was the one I was most concerned about. This one, 6119, was fixed last night, or yesterday. So after nightly processing last night, it should be safe to pull in the CELA. The only issue you might run into with both CELA and SPRG is I believe the last two columns are still missing. So I don't know if that impacts your SIS's ability to import the data. But in terms of this quality of the data and integrity of the data, I think it should be pretty good. And if not, let us know.
Maria, is there a status on when the anomalies will be functioning to clear those out? Status on candidate list and any update on posting records for summer LPAC testing?
So for anomalies, mostly functioning, but not great. I think you guys are finding that, like especially with CCEs, they're triggering on N470 exits. I think the ERDs are kind of all over the place. So Maria, those are unfortunately a little bit lower on our list. It's more important in terms of fall one, getting those correct, and we'll definitely have them fixed before then. I don't want you to think we're going to put it off that long. Just that we wanted to make sure that people can get the data in first, and so that means the focus has been primarily on validation rules. The candidate list processing, I don't have an update. Does anybody from CDE, have you guys heard anything more about that?
Unfortunately, no.
And then posting records for summer LPAC testing. Brandy, does that?
Well, so summer enrollment, so are we going to allow summer enrollments, I'm assuming? And the answer is yes, but again, if we don't have the candidate list, you're going to have to use the same processes. And unfortunately, I don't really have any good news for you there, except to say that if students come to you, particularly kindergartners, it's going to be really important not to assume that they don't already have an SSID, because a lot of them may have obtained SSID as kindergartners. So right now, I think that we need to probably have some internal conversations, particularly with the assessments office, so we can sort of strategize on how to avoid what happened after post-redesign launch. I understand why you're anxious.
Kay from Torrance, question 1. Are the accountability reports now being updated regularly again? Also related to this, what is the deadline for late graduates? It is usually about August 15th, but since there are so many changes, I didn't know if this changed as well. Schools are asking me about this issue.
So for the second question, it was on the answer case on the cohort 15.1 user or report mapping guide. So it's still 8:15. That has not changed, but I can understand questioning that because there have been a lot of changes. Accountability reports, cohort reports definitely are running. Does any of the analysts know about
the monitoring reports?
The monitoring, yeah. I know we have a lot of bugs, right?
Yeah.
So cohort good, K monitoring is a little iffy. There's several outstanding defects on these two, 16.7 and 8.
Gita, question 1. When will this error be fixed on CSIS 0507, invalid incident result duration days?
That is coming on Tuesday. That's targeted at least.
Richard, question 1. Who do I bribe to get 6070 fixed? Gary raises his hand.
Oh, nobody. Looks like that was fixed already. 6070. Double check your number, Richard. Or maybe you're still getting that and we have a different bug we haven't identified yet. But according to our log here, it looks like it was fixed on May 19th.
Karen, question 1. I was finally able to remove an incorrect TBD record from CalPADS last Thursday. However, they are still showing TBD and TOMS. I reached out to my success agent today, haven't heard anything yet. My students were not listed in that email that Brandy sent out earlier today. Last Thursday would mean...
So Karen, I will tell you that there were 2 sets of students that I've been working on in the last 2 days. There were lots of students that were being that were TBD and TOMS because there was an issue with their data, some sort of issue, right? And it fell into one of 2 buckets. So yesterday, I was able to send out messages about, or actually send a message to ETS saying, okay, these kids can be included. So Karen, if you could just, in a private message in the chat, give me the student's SSID and I could tell you right here if it was one of the ones that got sent over last night. They were being excluded. There was a set of them that we included last night. And then additionally, there were some that I sent out in an email today because their effective dates and their ELAS start dates for two different statuses for the same student are exactly the same. And so we don't know which is right. So just if you want to just PM me in the chat, I will look it up and I'll tell you.
Brenna, question 1. Good afternoon. I'm a little concerned that end of year is opening tomorrow and we still have SPED data that we are unable to report because of the reporting known issues like SPED 0434 and SPED 0538. Is there an ETA for those to be fixed? Thank you.
Yeah, I believe, Brenna, I'm pretty sure that both of those are targeted for the Tuesday release. So like I said at the top of the call, we're trying to get all the IVRs in there.
Ethan, question 1. Any ideas on what parts of end of year will be working and which parts should be avoided when the window opens tomorrow?
Well, don't certify. In fact, I don't think you're going to be able to. I think they're going to disable that feature. Paula, are you covering any of that in the flash? Or just reference the known issues that, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah. We've had this conversation, right? That we kind of think stats in the discipline files are maybe the cleanest, but even those have a couple defects. But I think, are those being included, you think, on the June 7th?
Stats, I'm not aware of any. Do you guys, analysts, do you guys know of any?
Of any stats
bugs? The CSIS 507 is going to be fixed on Friday, Tuesday.
Okay, is that the last outstanding one on the CSIS that, you know, is really making that one more difficult?
I believe so. We had a sync one go in on Friday, or on Tuesday, excuse me. 507, this is the one that's over triggering.
And that's CSIS 507, right?
Yeah, CSIS 507.
I know I've seen issues with the stats, but it's on the SIS side, including counts that aren't supposed to in the days attended in person, but not on our end.
There is a STAS 0313 triggering on input validation when it's a data discrepancy error. That was logged May 13th, 6118.
Yeah, so warnings, just background for folks that anything that in old CALPADS, legacy CALPADS was a warning on input is now on the back end what we're calling the data discrepancies, which you guys have not seen yet. It's not enabled yet. So it looks like that bug is triggering on input when it should not be. So that should be an easy fix to just disable that. So I'm going to make a note on that one.
There was another minor one. The field names on the view submission screen needed to be updated because there was a couple minor changes to the names of a couple fields.
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was fixed already.
Any input IVRs that were warnings, those won't be CBR or CBRs.
Right. I think they'll just be in that data discrepancy view as sort of informational.
Right.
You may have, yeah, and they won't see yet. Right. It's not going to be enabled right away.
All right, moving on with Serena. Question 1, what if I have been posting an SPRG file? Will that affect EOY too?
It might, you know, where you might see that is just for a couple of days here until the work on the cleanup happens over the weekend. On your 5.1 report, you may have inflated counts. I haven't checked to see what it's actually doing, but since we're allowing duplicate program records in there, I could see where 5.1 might be inflated, but again, they're going to try to clean all those duplicates up over the weekend.
Sherry with question 1. I'm working on the CEP application. We need the direct certification list as of April. I am not able to go in and pull that from April. It is the only month I don't have. I was advised that it's not possible. I can only pull the most recent month, but my contact with the CDE says that it is possible. Can you please help me?
Yeah, that should be available. So I'm curious if you're getting an error or just no data.
They probably need to use as of 7/1. Maybe she's just,
okay.
It should be since 7/1/2021. And that should cover everyone. And then they could just sort by the most recent updates.
Charlene from Cupertino, question 1. I'd like to test if the CRSC file can upload successfully. After tonight, will we be able to see the course data info through OM after a CRSC record is posted?
A couple things going on there, Charlene. No, you won't be able to see. What she's asking about is the left-hand navigation here under online maintenance. The course and incident data are currently missing. That won't be added until it's on the list for Tuesday. They're still working on some bugs in online maintenance for course data. And then there are, I know, a couple course completion bugs that I'm expecting to be fixed this week. Oops, past one, sorry. So this one is definitely coming on Tuesday. Flickr 2 for local assignment option. And then this one I'm expecting to be fixed as well. So you might run into some problems uploading that data. And again, don't expect to see the online maintenance views until after the Tuesday release.
Sherry, I've written down your question 2. We'll circle back. Chuck, question 1. Stas, it appears that in school suspension days, which are already in the days attended, are being added in again when trying to balance DAS days. That's one of the things that I've seen, is that in-school suspensions are included in the days attended in person when they shouldn't be. They should be excluded from days attended in person. And I believe that that's in the CFS.
And you're saying that that's on the SIS side, that they're populating it incorrectly?
Yeah, it's including it in the count. I've also seen that ADA generating independent study days are also being included in the days attended in person count, and they should not be. Cedric, question 1. We just noticed some students had changed their FRPM status from reduced to free at some point during the year. Should we be updating their lunch program from 181 to from 182 to 181? Does it impact what they get for the PEBT? I don't think 181 or 182 impacts accountability, SCD or LCFF.
Yeah, it doesn't impact PEBT either.
But I guess my question is, why would you do that other than because of an audit, right? We know that you have to verify some applications, but generally once a student obtains free, it's going from reduced to free. Okay, that makes sense. Forget it. It doesn't really matter for purposes of really anything in CalPAD.
Linda, question 1, CRSC errors. I have plenty. 1, I am not finding on your known issues, CRSC 0462, and the course clearly has a subcategory listed. Also, I am getting stuck with errors CRSC 0464, 0465, and 0468.
Just double checking that there isn't a known issue.
It's like all those columns are off when they're uploading the file for some reason for those errors. I know the one that is there, the 464, that's what it is. And those 465 and 468 and 462 are all similar.
Okay, so Linda, so we can document your 462 issue, if you could put in a ticket, ask for Gary.
Thanks.
Okay, Linda, I'm going to circle back for your question 2. Yvette, is there an ETA for the known issues with report 16.8?
There is not. That's similar to anomalies. So 16.8 are the accountability monitoring reports, and lower on our list right now. So I think CDE, the SPED team, is Joe on? Weren't they talking about doing something outside of CalPADS for their SPED users?
Yeah, so again, just to remind everybody, the 16.8 reports are monitoring tools for you guys to actually, look where the status is of your students as far as the timeliness of their IEPs or their evaluations. And again, these are monitoring tools. They're not exactly like gonna ding you, right, for non-compliance. Okay, so let me reassure that again, these are monitoring reports to assist you in guiding you to resolve any IEP issues in terms of timeliness. Okay, the CDE, or our SPED office, mainly actually extracts periodic reports, which we used to call DINCs, or data identified non-compliance, or now we call it timeliness reports, that would actually assess your LEAs, whether there is substantial lates or identify lates there. Again, please work with your FOMTA consultants. If you feel like there are certain issues involving your timeliness as far as implementing the IEPs and so on. So please consult with your FOMTA consultants. Again, it's periodic. We don't know the next iteration. I believe it would be around late June, I believe, for the next iteration for those reports that would come out, and they'll be sent to your SALPA directors or your SALPA, and your SALPA would actually work with you in regards to those LEAs identified in that list.
Thanks, Joe. Jan, question 1. Will the 2 date fields be added back to the CELA and SPRG ODS files in the future, or left off completely?
So we might have to get back to you on that, Jan, unless Brandy or Paula knows. I think we just need to make a decision and tell the vendors so that they can adapt their SIS import if necessary.
You know what? I got to be honest. I did not hear the question.
Oh, so the ODS extracts are missing the 2 date fields that were previously in there in legacy. And so SIS vendors are having a hard time importing those files back into their ASSIS. And it's written up as a bug now, but it's been there since before launch even. So I think I heard Marty say that in some cases he can't get the date, the date it was added because it's of the migration. So we either need to put a filler in there or remove them altogether. I think there's just a decision needs to be made on what to do with those.
Maybe we can talk about it at CRIS tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to keep going, but just interject whenever. Carrie from Hemet, question 1. Is there any update on when the 16.8 monitoring reports will be working again? I have put a ticket in to be included in notices regarding the issues, but haven't seen any updates coming through via email. So we answered this earlier. No ETA yet.
And to add on to that, Alex, I just want to remind everybody to, other than this is one of the data sources for your monitoring, but this is not the only one. You have your SED system to actually, work with you to, in regards about assessing how many, monitoring your kids, because your SED system is the data source where this all come about.
Richard, I see your question 2. We'll circle back. Reynaldo, question 1. Is the list that Brandy sent out today in the CELA correction email accurate? Because the students listed in the email were never in our district.
You know what? Email me directly, please. I don't want to talk about this here because there were some of you did receive some SSIDs. Or excuse me, some of you did receive that email inadvertently. I don't think you were one of them, but can you just email me, just respond to the email, please. It'll help clear up some of the confusion.
Sean from Eureka, question 1. We have a kindergarten age student who had an initial IEP with us, but is not attending our LEA. The intention was to refer the student to the county office SPED program, but they now do not have room / medical staff to accommodate this student. The IEP states that we will provide 15-minute consultation per week until the county office program can take this student. Our SACE coordinator needs an SSID to affirm the IEP, but I am not sure how to report this student since it is not really a primary enrollment, at least in my eyes. The kindergarten age students have to have a primary enrollment, even if they're not taking any school or not enrolled in your school. That is an FAQ. So anybody that is preschool and above should have primary unless they're in a private school. You can enroll them at the district level if they're not attending any school. And I'm just thinking for the staff, you'll have to do an exemption, right?
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Anybody with an IEP needs a primary enrollment, period.
There we go.
Anybody, yeah.
Okay. Angela, I've written down your question 2. Elizabeth from Burbank, question 1. I saw the delete SPED SSRV records was a fix and implemented, but it seems to be hit or miss for me. I was able to delete a record for one student, but not another. No.
I saw a ticket on that today, but the student was never enrolled with them, or they had deleted the enrollment, I should say. So try adding, make sure that there is an active enrollment for that student. And even if you just have to temporarily add one, and then delete the SPED, and then go back and delete the temporary enrollment record. And if that's not it, put in a ticket and we'll help you out.
Richard, I have your question 3, and Sean, I have your question 2 and 3. Moving on to Shelley from Fallbrook. Question 1, to follow up with Brandy regarding TOMS. My students were sent over last night to be removed from TOMS. However, our LPAC test status still has the same percentages. It should have changed dramatically. Does the test status piece take longer to update?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question. It's one that I'll have to ask our assessment folks. So, but just to be clear, when you look at those students in TOMS, their statuses in CALPADS and their TOMS status are the same, correct? They're not in TOMS any longer. Okay. They were yesterday. Okay. So very likely the percentages are taking a little longer to update, Shelley, but if you want to send me a message, I can find out affirmatively from our assessments office for you.
Richard, I see your question 4, and we're jumping over to Lily. Question 1, are end of year snapshot reports available to download? Not until we open up the snapshot, or sorry, the submission window, right?
Right.
So tomorrow?
Tomorrow, sometime tomorrow.
And then Cheryl's responding, I think this is a direct cert question, says, when I pull it, I just get May data.
So Sherry, you want to make sure you're following what Kyron recommended here. So when you're requesting the extract, make sure you do 7/1/2021 is the enrollment start date. And then I would just do today's date. And then once you have the extract as the enrollment end date, and then once you have the extract, you can filter on April.
All right, moving on. Lori says, will the staging area be updated along with CALPADS? In other words, can I expect to find the same issues in both places?
Yes, in general, they're kind of a mirror of each other, except that staging can be a couple days ahead of production. So fixes go into staging Friday and then into production on Tuesday.
Okay, Tara says, stats file, if we get an error for this file with code FRMT 0009, invalid column count, is this an SIS issue? That's an us issue.
I'm writing the bug on that right now.
Yeah.
It's a mysterious one. We have no documentation on it. Did we skip Christine?
Did we? Christine. What time?
Above Tara?
Oh, yeah, I have her highlighted and I totally skipped it. I was excited about the FRMT. Sorry, Christine. Question 1 says, what was said about the CSIS 0507 error? It was sent to developer. I don't see it has been fixed yet.
It has not been fixed yet, but it is scheduled for the Tuesday release.
Okay. Covered Tara's. Charlene, I have your question 2. Elsa from Eastside, question 1. My CCEs have not been updated since April 1st. My concern is that our attendance folks will do their end of year reporting in the next few weeks. And if I need to change enrollment dates after that time, it causes issues for them. Is there any kind of workaround?
I've been seeing the CCEs get updated, although I think the homepage is incorrect. So Elsa, make sure you are drilling down to the anomaly management and maintain CCEs here that I have on my screen, because I think somebody told me that on the home screen for LEAs that it's got the wrong information on it.
Okay. Rima says she can't unmute. Maybe that's been
Sure,
fixed.
that's her likely story.
Okay, and then we have Jan at 3:15 or 3:35. And Meredith responded at 3:37, says, I don't have any information to offer for the question about ODS reports and the as of dates. We will follow up during our weekly call tomorrow with CDE.
Okay, there you go, Jan. We'll be in touch soon.
Okay, Tara, question 1. Just checking in on known issue 6009. I haven't heard anything about this since I reported my issue back in April. Still unable to submit information either by file submission or manual entry directly to a student program record.
And I want to say that one is on the list for Tuesday as well. Fairly sure. If not, it's right behind everything else.
Larnie from Oxnard, question 1. We have gotten a notification from a parent that her child was tested for LPAC when he is not an EL. We verified Tom's and saw that he is identified in Tom's EL. CalPADS shows him as EO. Was this error due to a previous SEAL files with incorrect ELA codes that were sent to Tom's? I understand the fix to the issue has been implemented last week. Then wouldn't that mean that Tom's should already reflect the corrected ELS code last Thursday or Monday? Since the student was tested by mistake, what do we do now with the scores?
Okay, let me just read this one more time, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
With LPAC when he's not able to verify Tom's, so he's identified. CalPADS shows him as EO. So there were some circumstances, Larnie. It depends on when he was the student was tested. So if you were looking at the student's data yesterday and he still showed as EO, if in fact he was tested with the LPAC very, very recently, then if Tom's is trying to send that record over to CalPADS, it's being rejected. And it gets rejected because the student has a status of English only. Okay, so typically in these cases, what has to happen is you will have to delete the English only record or create a TBD record with a date after the English only record with a primary language other than English, which was used to test the student, right? And then let that record come in to CalPADS and by notifying me that you've done it because they have to resend it. And then when that record comes in, the student will be, I'm assuming, EL, and then you can subsequently correct that through online maintenance, saying that there was evidence that the student was an ineligible student was tested. So, but very likely it's being rejected if the student was tested relatively recently. So I would need to probably get some more information from you.
All right, Eric, question 1. We have a student who had an IEP at the end of our school year, and the parents will exit the student from SPED on August 10th, which happens to be the first day of our 22-23 school year. Should I have 1 day SPED enrollment of 810 for the SACE transaction to be posted, or with the IEP with the 21-22 school years be enough? I know for exits in the SPED, you have to have an overlapping enrollment in order for the exit to be allowed in.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 day enrollment it is, Eric. Question 2, I'll circle back. Anne from Alameda, question 1. Sorry, fall 2 seems like it was eons ago and I need to create a new course for the next school year. Is an articulated course the same thing as a dual credit course? If not, what's the difference between the two?
So there they're not necessarily different. But the difference between those two values in CALPADS and is that dual credit means that particular student earned dual credit, both high school and college credit for that course. Whereas just saying our course is articulated, the course may be articulated, but often depends on the articulation agreement. And there are some articulation agreements that don't actually issue the credit, but for completion of the course, it actually requires the student to enroll in the post-secondary institution, and then they get the articulated credit upon enrollment. In those cases, it would be an articulated course, but it would not be a dual credit course. Does that make sense?
I don't know if she's replying, but I'm going to keep going and we'll come back to Anne if she replies.
She says, clear as mud, Brandy.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. If you have follow-up questions, Anne, I can help you. It's just, you have to also think about it in terms of the fact that those two pieces of information that we collect are used for entirely different purposes. Okay. So the articulated course indicator is something that we collect specifically for Perkins to figure out whether or not career technical education courses are being articulated with post-secondary institutions. Okay, so it's simply that. It's not that kids earned college credit. Okay, so the dual credit and college credit only instructional levels are being used to identify students who actually earn college credit in that course by the time they complete the course and before they graduate. So yeah. Okay, yeah, I know.
All right, we're going to circle back to question 2s and above, and we're going to start at 3:09 timestamp with Sherry. Question 2. Can you please tell me which report or extract is the best to pull to get accurate enrollment for the schools as of April 1st, 2022? We have 2 schools in our district, and I got 830 for both schools, but it should be 786. Thank you. Oh man, ODS reports. We were having a lot of issues with ODS reports, but
I would start with 1.5. Sorry, we're in our test environment and it's a little bit slow. I believe you can tell it the as of date on this one.
Also, the ODS defaults with the preschoolers included. If you didn't count that as well for 786.
it's a good catch, Kyron. Maybe it's a matter of filtering for Sherry. That's why she's seeing inflated counts. Circling down to Linda. Question 2. Is Sela ready to run the ODS extract? Yes, that was part of the fix, right? On Tuesday?
Yes, that was the one where it was pulling the wrong record. So 6119 was fixed on Tuesday.
At 3:16, Richard has a question 2. Says, student accidentally entered as EL on September 24th. Should have been EO on August 4th. What are options? Or Angela, bring this up so we can ask Brandy.
Yeah, so I think I gave him some bad info and I just wanted to talk it out with Brandy. So students got a TBD, I think that one was August, and then a September EL record. It turns out that should be a correction reason for this. The student is actually EO all the way back in August, which aligns with their enrollment date. And at first they told him, just go ahead and use the subsequent day after the EL record. So use the EL record was 924, use 925 with a correction reason code of 4, change the student to EO, and that works fine. But then I said, or if you just want us to fix it, back in August, we'll have to do a data request. And then I thought, oh, well, this was 2021 after we integrated with TOMS, and I don't think that's the right answer, right? So he has to use the correction reason 4 with the subsequent date after the EL record. Is that correct, Brandy?
So when was the student tested?
September 2021.
Yeah. So that status came from TOMS. So it wasn't accidentally entered. It means the student was tested and that was his result. If he was erroneously tested, then Angela's right. You would enter a correction code with a date of 9/25 with the status of English only. And I believe the code is 4 evidence. Yeah. Code 4, ineligible student tested.
So sorry, I gave you some false hope there, Richard, but as soon as I hit send, I thought, oh, well, that was after Tom's integration, so that doesn't work. You have to use the correction reason code now.
Question 2 from Angela at 319. Any updates on known issue 6038? I tried uploading a sync file today, but got 5 rejected records for incidents that occurred today, June 1st. Not sure how to go around this.
I'm sorry, I was trying to find that question. 6038 is the number?
Yes.
So it's got a workaround. That's why it's not higher up on the list. So the workaround says submit sync record with a date at least 1 day after the incident occurrence date.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. So that's what she's saying. So actually, date at least 1 day after the incident occurrence date.
She's saying the incidents occurred today.
So try tomorrow. Is that what that's saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
Okay. We should probably make that title a little more clear. So I guess, yeah, try again tomorrow.
Richard, question 3 at 320 says, pull down SPRG ODS extract today and try to import into our SIS. Still complaining the dates are missing. We will be talking about that internally, Richard. We'll get back to the vendors on that. Sean, question 2. We have a handful of students that may qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged according to the new secondary guardian ed levels, but we do not have the ed level for both parents. Can we reach out to this small group to ask for the second guardian's ed level, or would we have to put out a district-wide survey?
Paula, you get to answer that one. Are you still on? Or did she bail?
She's bailed. She's gone.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? How come? What's your name? What's your Zoom name?
That's my name, P. Mishima.
P. Oh, there. I was looking for Paula.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Did you hear the question, Alex? Can you reread that?
Yes. It says we have a handful of students that may qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged according to the new secondary guardian ed levels, but we do not have the ed level for both parents. Can we reach out to this small group to ask for the second guardian's ed level, or would we have to put out a district-wide survey?
Well, okay. I guess I don't understand the question.
Well,
do they have to survey the whole district?
I think I was asking you to answer it in the context of the discussions we've been having about fall change.
You mean fall one,
Yeah.
that we're going to put off for a year this
Yeah.
requirement, right? I can answer that. So we've decided we're going to delay the requirement that we collect that in this coming fall. So LEAs can continue to collect it. You should continue to collect it, but it won't be required in CalPADS until 23, 24, not this year, the following year.
But I guess what it means is that you don't have to resolicit, right?
Right.
That's kind of important because there are parents or guardians, the second parent or guardian, that may not have a parent ed level. And in this case, you would not have to survey them because we haven't announced it yet. Are you putting that in the flash?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Right. So you don't need to make a special effort this year if you don't have it, basically. Brandy, I think is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then Sean has question 3, says, I am getting ERD B and C errors for an E230 exit on one of our students. I see ERD-C is on the known issues list, but I didn't see ERD-B. Is that also a false positive?
I see 5078. Oh, well, that's pretty old.
2019, yeah.
Boy, they go way back. We might have to take a look at that for you. So if you want to put in a ticket, we will do that.
Okay, Richard's question 4 at 323. 6050 seems to be related to 6070. 6050 is still active.
It is still active, and I would agree. It does seem related. So Meredith, if you could include that in your analysis of what we're going to do with these extract issues. So the academic year is missing, and then also the 2 date fields are not consistently populated on all the ODS extracts.
Okay. We are at the 4 o'clock time now, but I'll keep going until you tell me to stop. We have 3 more question 2s that I have written down. And the next one is Charlene at 332. Question 2 says, I suspect the CRSC file template contains 1 extra field compared to last year's. Can you verify that?
Kyron, do you know?
Nate pointed it out when he was testing it, but that's basically the there was a filler column, that charter school, middle school charter indicator that became a filler. Maybe that was skipped on validations or during the file upload validations, if they're using the batch file, because there weren't any reduction in the columns. It was just created a filler.
So are you saying that the template is correct, but that it's possible CalPADS isn't importing it correctly?
I believe so.
That would be a problem.
They can send in a ticket and then attention it to me, and then I'll try to see if the columns align.
Okay, thanks. Ask for Kyron on that ticket.
Jan, question 2 at 335 says, I noticed on the CELA ODS extract file, the 2 date fields at the end of the file have the same dates in both fields, which seems incorrect. They are supposed to reflect different things, upload date and last date updated.
Right, that's what I was saying earlier, is that the lead architect wasn't able to migrate all of that information over from legacy to new CalPADS, and so that's why we have to make a decision. And maybe Jan, you could type in chat if your SIS uses that information for anything, or if you would mind if we just cut that extract off and remove those 2 fields.
Eric, question 2 at 343 says, we have a student in NPS who had a behavior emergency report. The student began striking and biting himself as well as staff, verbal and physical redirection, PROACT. Seated intervention was provided by staff. Do we have to report this as an incident?
So, hold on 1 second, sorry. I got to reread that.
343.
Okay. Sorry. Trying to multitask here, folks. NPS, behavior emergency report, striking, biting himself as well as staff, verbal and physical redirection, seated intervention. So it sounds like there was probably some restraint. I'm not familiar with the proactive, I'm assuming. Seated intervention, meaning if the staff person sat the student down and restrained them, then that probably needs to be reported. But aside from that, a student striking staff probably would need to be reported. But minimally, it sounds, if there was any type of restraint, then yes, that would be an incident. That's super important.
All right, at 3:50 timestamp, Angela posted a link to the articulated definition, I believe, in our manual, our user manual. And 352, Cedric asks question 2, what is the difference between known issues 6088 and 5961.
So 5961, it's triggering on records other than 100 or 110. They look like they might be a duplicate, actually. Gary, do you have bandwidth to make a note on that one? 6088 and 5981?
5961.
Oh, sorry, 5961 and 6088. See if those might be a duplicate.
Tammy from Moreno Valley says, I believe the Sync 0498 issue doesn't allow you to upload incidents occurring on the same date you do the upload, meaning you need to remove all incidents from the file that occurred on the day you uploaded the file. This was at least the issue and workaround I dealt with. I think it should let you do it on the same day, and that's the bug, right?
Right, yeah.
And then Richard says, thanks for all the hard work and patience. Right back at you. Margarita says, how do we decide which parents we need to submit to CalPADS? Can we submit just the parents that live with the student versus all in the birth certificate?
So the general direction that I've been giving folks, and Paula can chime in here if she's still on, is remembering the use of those particular data elements in CalPADS. So right now, they're primarily being used to send on the student score reports for assessments. So additionally, they're being used, actually, no, they're not being used in the criteria for matching for direct certification, but potentially they could be used. Also, they could be used in determining whether or not a student has multiple identifier. So those are the uses for it. Student score reports are one of the primary uses for it, though. So I would base your decision on those things. We currently don't have any firm guidance about exactly what we're expecting you guys to submit.
Sean says, did I hear Brandy and Paula correctly? Second parent ed level no longer required for 22-23.
Yeah, we're just going to hold off on collecting it in CalPADS, but LEA should collect it because we are going to collect it. We're just trying to keep Fall 1 kind of a little bit focused on what we need to do for Fall 1.
And then Betty Lee from Fremont says, if we collect parent ed level for all parents, can we still submit the data since our SIS has already made the change? I don't think CalPADS will allow you to submit it because
Right.
the SIM file layout hasn't, or
It won't be updated.
yeah. But if your SIS has made the change locally, then absolutely continue to collect that information and keep it locally in your SIS.
And we asked the SIS vendors about that, and they said it wouldn't be a problem if we delayed. So I think they'll still be able to do what they've always done, which is determine which parent ed level to send up to CalPADS.
And Eric, I skipped your question 2. I thought
You went back and got it later.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then Sean's asking for 10 more minutes. Richard says insert 25 cents for the next 10 minutes. Sean's going to send us pizza. So thanks for that. And Kay's question 2 says, how many parents, guardians are permitted to be reported in CalPADS? Is it only supposed to be the ones living with the student only? I think we just answered that. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And Carol's question 1, if a student had an initial LPAC on May 24th, do we have to do a summative this year? I don't know.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yep. The student had an initial LPAC on May 24th. Do they have to have a summative this year?
Or if they're EL, they do.
Okay. Question 3 from Kay. Is there a delay on the parent ed level requirement for both parents? My coworkers will be overjoyed if that is the case. Yes.
Wait, what do you mean? Oh yeah, both parents. You still need the one parent, which is basically the highest of either. So what you've always been doing, you need to continue that, but next year we won't be requiring it of both.
Margarita says, what was the third potential use for Guardian info?
Brandy had said that it's going to be on the score reports, and also they're talking about using it for helping with identifying the right kids for mids, resolution, and stuff like that. In fact, I think, is it showing up now in mids?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just to really help people resolve mids. And I think at some point, I don't know if it's going to be used to help with selecting the right SSID.
Sean says,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Sean says, thanks, Paul and Brandy. You rock. All of CSIS and CDE, job well done. Were you going to say something, Brandy?
No, I was just going to answer Ed's question, but you haven't asked. You haven't
All right, let me get to it. It says, are you sure about the summative LPAC answer? It used to be only required for students enrolled with initials prior to February 1st.
You know what? I'm not 100% confident, but I remember having a conversation with Tracy Albee that basically said even if students are tested with the initial late in the year, they're still required to take the summative as long as the testing window is still open. So I'm almost positive. Ed, I think what you may be talking about is that 2-1 date is used to basically take a snapshot of students required to take the summative for your participation rates, but they do a little manipulation of that information after they take that snapshot. It just means that if you hadn't submitted up an RFEP record for a student and they needed to take the summative, or they shouldn't need to take the summative and you forgot to send it up, that student's going to show up in the denominator of your participation rate.
So, yeah, Alex, let's cut off at Charlene for 11.
Sounds good. Charlene says, wait, we are not required to collect both parents' ed level come this September. That's correct, Charlene. And this will be in a flash sometime soon. All right, folks.
Yeah, and with that, let's wrap it up. So should be interesting tomorrow with end of year on. One thing to keep in mind, we haven't run revisions in new CALPADS yet. This will be our first time, so kind of interested to see how long it takes. In legacy CALPADS, sometimes when we enabled a new snapshot, not everybody had one in the morning when we came in. They were still kind of chugging along throughout the day, so don't panic if you don't see one first thing in the morning. Just keep an eye on it. And so you should have under the certification status screen at some point tomorrow have some EOY revisions listed. And with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will be back on Friday at 3 o'clock. Thanks, everyone.